Welcome to Let Freedom Ring. Per usual, we have secure. Yes, keep him out. Keep him out. We got security here. Per Nick's request, only Karate Kid stuff on the table. But my guest this week, Gina Cravedi. Did I nail it?
You nailed it.
Welcome to the show, Gina.
Thanks, Dan. Nice to be here.
No, we appreciate having you on. Let's get to know you a little bit. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up, and actually my parents still live there in a small town called Boylston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
It's in between Worcester and Marlborough, but I spent a lot of my school years in Worcester and lived there for most of my life other than like college, and then moving here to New Hampshire like 4 years ago.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Syracuse University in upstate New York.
Awesome. Yeah. Now, did you end up, are you in Manchester or the area?
Yeah,
Manchester
suburbs
area?
of Manchester, yep.
Okay. Awesome. And what are 3 things that everybody should know about you?
Well, obviously the reason why I'm, the topic I'm here to talk about, that I compete in Strongman, been doing that for 12 years now. Something else, I'm really into travel, especially abroad. Seeing new places, experiencing new cultures is really important and exciting for me. And I really love the beach, so it's prime time right now. I need to get out there some more and enjoy our good weather before Mother Nature turns and brings some less desirable weather for a beach lover.
100% agree with that. I have not been to the beach yet. I don't know how that's happened. It's July 20th, so I need to get on that.
Yeah.
I was going to ask this one thing, too. You say you like to travel. Do you have a favorite place that you've been to?
I've really loved Italy. I only got to spend a little time in Rome, so I do have plans to, at some point in the future, go back and spend more time like touring the coast, seeing some of the areas where my ancestors are from. So
Okay.
I do have 3 of my great-grandparents are from Italy, so I'd love to see more of where they're from and see like Venice and Florence and all those other like beautiful cities and just explore that area more.
Oh, that's awesome. I've always wanted to go to Venice.
Yeah.
It looks like the pictures just look unreal.
Yeah.
You know?
Like a city just floating on water.
Yeah. Like, we'll see. It's on the bucket list. We'll see what happens. I definitely need to travel more myself. I do know that. Now, sticking with the theme of the show, which is Let Freedom Ring, and we ask everybody this, and this question is a difficult question. It's a loaded question, and it means a lot to different people. But what does it mean to you to be an American?
That's definitely a loaded question, especially being a woman right now in America. Had you asked me that question like 8 to 10 years ago, I'd probably give you a very different answer. 8 to 10 years ago, I think I would say like, it's really exciting, like seeing lots of progress, being really hopeful about, the country making things like more equal and giving more opportunity to minorities of kind of, color, gender and everything. But right now we're experiencing a tough time. We're seeing, especially women and minorities stripped of a lot of the freedoms that I don't want to say took for granted, but we appreciated, and it's kind of scary. I don't want to say that I'm ashamed to be an American,
Yep.
but it's not a moment of pride at the moment. I do have some faith that will turn things around. Just seeing some headlines today that that the federal government actually put a bipartisan law in place to allow same-sex marriages to continue. So that was some hope, but it's tough right now. But I think it's just an evolving feeling that I think a lot of us will have.
I think that's fair enough, but part of my issue is like, why do we still have like the Supreme Court making all like, and my issue with the Supreme Court, because this is really what it comes down to. I don't feel most Americans. I'm sure there's states that maybe the majority of that state feel that way. I don't think the majority of Americans agreed with this decision. Yet you just have this small group of people on lifetime appointments deciding for everybody. Right. That's where it's frustrating.
Yeah, super frustrating, especially if, those are officials that, voters don't get to elect. We have no say. It's up to, a party, whoever's in office at the time, to choose. And, like most of them, they're not the same generation or of the same thought process of I think the majority of Americans right now. So that's, really frustrating a lot to be like, why is somebody that's like my great-grandfather's age making choices about, the generations to come? So definitely really frustrating from that standpoint.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, And talking just anything, at some point it never happen because the politicians make the decisions, but
Yep.
term limits and things like that, and
I
it's
love
like,
term limits.
yeah, like you just want. Why are the older, you look at a lot of the politicians. No diss to Nancy Pelosi or anything like that, but she's like in her 90s.
Right.
The stuff that gets decided impacts us.
Yes.
It's not going to impact the Nancy Pelosi's or the Donald Trumps or the the Joe Bidens.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm with you. And I think that's a great answer, because when people come in and they just say, "Oh, this is a great place, greatest place ever," we have our flaws too.
Yep. Absolutely. And of course, like, yes, we could be in a different place with not nearly as many freedoms and opportunities that we have now, but especially as like a leader, a world leader, a rich country, can we do better? Yes. Are there lots of countries doing better than us? Yes. Like, we can hold ourselves to a better standard. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect by any means. Like, we can be, self-reflective in that way.
Yeah, I 100% agree. But I do want to get into this because this is very interesting about you. I honestly don't know too many people that do the strongman competition, so it's pretty fascinating and really cool that you do it. How'd you get involved with this?
So I really stumbled upon it. Prior to strongman, I did do bodybuilding for a couple years. It was great because I just liked lifting and stuff, but it wasn't my niche. There was lots of kind of cattiness, no diss to bodybuilders. That's hard work. But at the time, I was kind of like not finding my way, and I was dating another bodybuilder at the time, and he had like a team, and his team was working out at this local gym in Malden. Went with him to just explore this new gym, and it turned out that was one of the, at the time, probably 12, 13 years ago, one of the most well-known strongman gyms in the country.
Okay.
So rolled into this, saw some people doing Conan's wheel in the parking lot of this, dungeon-like gym, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Teach me what it is. I learned how to do Conan's wheel that day, learned how to do Atlas stones, and I just fell in love after that.
Awesome. Now, it's a little bit different because bodybuilding, and I guess I don't know a lot about it. I used to wrestle in high school, and you always had to worry about your weight. I'm assuming bodybuilding, like, the diet's, like, pretty crazy.
Yeah,
or even especially, like, going into it.
Oh, yeah. So for bodybuilding, like, diet's really, really tough. I mean, like, from a social aspect, and if you have any, for me, like, I had lots of body issues growing up. Not the healthiest space that you really judge yourself on, like, looking a certain way. One thing about bodybuilding, as opposed to, like, a lot of strength sports or even wrestling, strongman included, it doesn't matter what you weigh in the scale to, like, kind of compete in your, like, league.
Yeah.
At least for women. It's more about, like, what does your symmetrical appearance look like? How you're judged on what you look like. It's very subjective, and that's what I didn't love about bodybuilding mostly. Yes, really, really grueling. You have to put everything, all of your time and effort into it. But you're judged on a very subjective opinion of what you appear look like. Where strongman for me, although we do have weight classes that you have to adhere to, and that's challenging as well, it's more about what you can do, not what I look like. And that's really what kind of drew me to strongman and transitioned away from bodybuilding.
That makes sense, because then you're having someone else's opinion, but strongman, it sounds like if you win, you win.
Right. Did I do more reps than that other person?
Yeah.
It was a little bit more cut and dry. There's always, like, no, that rep should have counted type of, like, arguments, but it's much more objective judging.
Okay. Now, what's training going like? Because these competitions, how often are they happening?
All of the time.
Okay.
Like, if you, depending on where you are in the, in the country, Northeast is really prevalent for this sport, so there's often a lot, like, once a month, often there's a competition depending on your federation. But if you were to look at either one of the, there's two big federations. If you look at either calendars, every weekend there's probably 4 events happening on the same day across the country.
Now, how many are you doing? Because I'm curious to, like, what goes into the training. Let's say, now you're always training, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Like, to stay with it.
Yep.
Now you get a big event.
Yep.
What goes into the training to do that?
So really, like, depending on what, like, the events are, what's really interesting about strongman is every contest is different. Different than, like, what powerlifting is. There's, for powerlifting, there's bench, squat, and deadlift that never changes. Strongman, you can come up with your own event for your contest, and it's something new for people to learn. So very often, a contest I sign up for, I may or may not have done these events before.
Okay.
So sometimes I have to learn and practice like those events. I might have the equipment at home that I can practice them with, or I might have to travel. I might have to go to a gym that has the special equipment for that event to get my hands on it. Not everybody does that, but leading up to it, typically, like somebody with as much experience in the sport as I have, 8 weeks, usually you really start dedicating to like getting the event practice and trying to work up to whatever those event weights are and kind of giving yourself competition-like scenarios. Okay. So if you're in a competition and you're going to do as many deadlifts as possible with this weight in 60 seconds, you're going to want to train yourself under those conditions with that weight, with that implement in 60 seconds so that you can kind of continually make better progress every week.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Now, do you have a team or a coach or anything, or is this all like you're doing just all your own training?
Oh, goodness. I could not train myself all the time. I have for the last like 18 months, and I've worked with him previously. Eric Dawson out of Titan Barbell. He's a pro strongman in Stoneham, Massachusetts. Great guy. He's been coaching me, coached me through those last nationals, and really actually helped me find my way through COVID too, because a lot of gyms and contests were shut down. He really helped tailor a program that I could do at home with the minimal equipment I had. Really thankful for all of his support, and he's been a really great coach. But I've worked with others in the past. I would say like my team would just be like everybody at Titan Barbell. That I've been training there, on and off, because it is a drive from where I live now. Goodness, for like 8 years now, like they're family to me. Like Eric and like his real family is like family to me. So always representing Titan Barbell, wherever I go.
Awesome. And now you bring up COVID. So COVID happens, you do these competitions, like are you like, oh my God, this is over? Like, or?
I mean, it was a real panic moment. Like, Dan, to be honest, like going right into COVID, that week that most of us went home, I was cutting weight for a contest that was supposed to happen on the weekend. It was Wednesday I was supposed to be weighing in on Friday, traveling to West Virginia to compete. This was going to be like my year.
Yeah.
I was like primed to win, felt really great about my prep for that contest, and they called it 2 days before. I'm like, wow, I've been losing all this weight. I prepped all this. I was ready to go, and that broke my heart.
Yeah.
And then like really we didn't have a lot of contests for like a full year after that. So it was really feeling lost. The gyms, especially around here in the Northeast, like everything got shut down. Massachusetts is really where all the strongman gyms are, at least closest to us. So there's nowhere to go. Bought a lot of equipment myself, or my boyfriend really. Invested a lot in our home gym and tried to get by with what we could, but there was like some panic, like, oh my God, what do we do? And like a lot of my, friends in my team, like teammates even from like, the women in the area, I'll have to get into it a little bit, like New England Women's Strength, like we really had to rally around each other to help get ourselves back into a positive mindset. And I think a lot of us with COVID, really got into a funk about what do I do? Like my life is just kind of thrown apart, and it was hard. We really had to try to get each other motivated again to do anything.
That's a hard thing to do, especially after that. Yeah. When did the competition start coming back?
About a year later. I mean, there was some trickling in. You did see some on and off later in the summer, that first year of COVID, because especially here, you could do them outside, keep it pretty safe, wiping things down. So there was a couple later that summer, but really 2021 things started to come back, and then this past year it's just been gangbusters. Attendance rates for most of the local competitions has been significantly more than the last 2 years, just because people weren't comfortable, or there was a lot more limits and capacities that gyms or people could have.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad it's back. Did you ever have to do one because I don't know, a lot of stuff that happened in the town of Merrimack, the sports they played, the kids had to wear masks.
Yeah.
Did you ever do any competitions wearing a mask? Okay.
Because
I could see that I could see that being a challenge.
Yeah, certainly a challenge. I mean, there are people that choose to do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're max exerting yourself, you need that oxygen. So I didn't compete in any of those conditions, but anybody that chooses to, welcome to do that. But
Yeah.
there were some contests that did mandate that.
Okay. So I was gonna say that just looked so challenging.
Yep.
I'm watching kids wrestle and play basketball with masks on. I'm like, I couldn't imagine having to do that.
No, I mean, I understand why we did. We
Yeah.
didn't know what we knew, and being in that close contact, especially with wrestling, like
Yeah.
with some sort of barrier, but it's really challenges to try to perform at your best under
Yeah.
that kind of condition.
100% agree. What's the most challenging part of all the strongman competitions? Is it the training? Is it the actual event? Is it nerves? Like, what goes into, like, what's the most challenging part?
I mean, for me personally, like, not the training itself, but more of the balancing of the training and the dedication that I want to put into the sport with everything else. Like, nobody's making, even the pros, we're not making big money off of strongman. Amateurs don't make any money. We do this, we're all in the red
Yeah.
for this. It's just for fun and trying to balance that with another full-time job. Some of us homeowners,
Yeah.
mom, dogs, parents, families, balancing that with like a normal life is probably the most challenging because, I'll be getting up at like 4:30 in the morning to try to go to the gym, get like an hour and a half before I have to rush to like my full-time job. That's really hard to do.
No, I can imagine. Even when I used to work out a lot, I couldn't do it at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Just could not do it.
Yeah, it's tough.
Do you have any, like, and this is this question I was just thinking, do you have any, like, rivals, like people that you come up against a lot?
Especially with some like myself in like a really smaller like weight class, you do see a lot of the same people around because like, I compete depending on the federation like under 123 or under 125, so there's just not many of us around. So certainly lots of people I compete against all the time. One of my like all-time like rivals was a really great friend of mine. She's quasi-retired from strongman, but was a training partner for me. My friend Dawn D'Onofrio, she's a great athlete. We were really well matched in like different ways that she was like the yin to my yang.
Yeah.
As much as I would train with her, like there's certain things I would always like hide from her. Like I'm not going to tell her how I'm doing at this event
Yeah.
if I knew we were competing against each other. But, I've been in this sport for a really long time, so I think kind of every new wave, like there's somebody like new
Yeah.
that comes in or, comes through that I've been able to compete against, several years.
Yeah, that's got to be interesting, like having a friend that's like, oh well, on show, on competition day, like
It's on, but I'll still support you. And that's
Yeah.
one of the things I really love about strongman, and I didn't see in a lot of other sports, especially like early on, is it's the most supportive like athlete group I've ever come to. Like whether you're competing against somebody else, they're there cheering for you. They want you to do your best. Like they are like screaming at you to finish, that Husafelt run, even if like they might lose.
Yeah.
Like you don't see that anywhere else. So that made it feel like home, like family to me, that somebody's not going to be like trying to like trick me or hurt me or like, outdo me in that sort of way. Like everybody wants you to do well. And like, that's just something you can't replace.
Nice, nice. Now, what would you say is your overall favorite part?
Honestly, probably is that community.
Okay.
Like, and one thing, like, for the people that come to strongman, like, we're all weirdos. Like, you want to pick up a fire hydrant or pull a truck or pick up a car, like, that's not a normal thing to do. And just, like, having kind of a home for, like, misfits that are like you, just the community. People that understand you, like, if they're in their sport, like, they get you. At a certain level, like, you can just meet them and they know that you have a connection to that person. They understand, like, what you are as a human being and just are going to be really supportive, share knowledge. That's the best part.
Awesome, awesome. That's kind of like, it sounds like, because that's kind of like me with softball. Like, it's the community. That's probably my favorite part. Even though there's a lot of people I'm not thrilled with right now. Right? I'm going to say that right into the camera. But that's not that's not for today. Now, you said, when we talked about, the write-up for the show, you said you're undefeated in the truck pull. Explain to us what goes down in the truck pull.
So a truck pull, you are in a harness attached to a large vehicle behind you, typically a monster truck or a dump truck or something. Somebody gives you what we call a lead rope. You pull on it, and you need to pull that vehicle with your own momentum across the finish line as fast as possible. And that's definitely like one of my favorite events. It's iconic to our sport. And I'm proud to say that nobody in any contest has ever beaten me in that event.
Okay.
I learned that event from two pros, my coach Eric Dawson, but also for anybody that's probably in our age bracket, back from like the MTV Made days, Kevin Nee, who was the one time like the youngest person to be on World's Strongest Man. He taught me how to truck pull.
Okay.
So I like to think that I learned from like some of the best, but truck pull also for any physics nerds out there. It's all about velocity and angles and kind of and keeping momentum going more than it is about brute strength.
Okay. Now, like, is there a way to like, do you train, like, do you actually get a truck and to train for it and just start pulling it?
Or just, pulling a Jeep, getting that, that form down. But yeah, attach to the truck, pull it through the parking lot.
Awesome. Now, I have to ask this, because you said you're undefeated. How long is this undefeated gone for?
I mean, a truck pull, so like Strongman, I kind of mentioned, every competition has different events, so I can't say I've done a truck pull event every year.
Okay.
But I just had one this past October, won that with like 10 seconds ahead of everybody else, which is really, that's a big lead. Since I think the first one I did was probably my second contest back in 2011.
Okay. Awesome. So it's been a little while.
Yep, it's been a little while.
Now, you were saying that you participated in the Arnold World Championships.
Yeah.
I know this. I remember seeing something on Instagram because I think I follow some weightlifter or something on there, and that was shut down pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
Tell us what that experience is like. This is Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Yes.
I'm assuming.
Yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But tell us a little bit about that experience and what goes on there.
Yeah. I mean, the Arnold Sports Festival is like the mecca of all weird sports. And I say weird. Not just strongman, like there is double dutch, there's pole dancing as sports there. Like there's probably like 50 different sports that kind of coalesce for their world championships at the Arnold Sports Festival every March in Ohio. And that was probably one of like the highlights of my strongman career, to be able to compete on a world stage. Kind of going back to one of our early questions, being able to wear USA and represent the country in that arena and place fairly well, but being on that floor with the best in the world made, it validated kind of how I felt about myself, or even made me feel better about myself as an athlete, that I deserved to be there. Even though I didn't win, like to be there and competing against people from across the world was just amazing. My judges for those events were all like pro strongmen that like have really great careers. And that's just like, oh wow, like they're here judging me, like a little kind of peon. And then like Arnold even came out onto the floor while we were competing.
So he was there,
yeah, he was there. Watch us come. We had to stop everything, let him speak for a little while. And it's like, wow, like this is big. And like from like the expo as a whole, like 200,000 people go there every year. So like there are people from like all walks of life coming and watching you, and that was incredible. I would love the opportunity to be able to go back and do that again, but just an honor.
How'd you end up doing it? Did you have to qualify? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so to get to the Arnold, you need to place at a nationals for one of our federations that kind of has a pathway to that. You have to place, within the top 20% of your weight class to be able to qualify to go. And goodness, so I went there in 2016, so that 2015 nationals, I qualified to go to the Arnold by like placing fourth at that point. Yeah, and overall, out of like all of the lightweights, I placed 15th out of 28.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there were things like that. That is like the heaviest of the heavy contests. So placing mid-pack with the best across the world was fine by me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm guessing that's why they probably canceled earlier, because it was people from all over the world.
All over the world, and like
Yeah.
it's a small space. Like if you're walking in the aisles of the Arnold Sports Festival, I mean, like that's like trying to fight your way through a mosh pit. That's how crowded it is. So just the amount of people that would fill up that space, that would have been the super spreader event of all super spreader events.
Because I remember, I remember reading this like right before, like it might have been a week or 2 weeks before it got crazy.
Yep, it's usually the first week of March.
Yeah. So, I'm glad it's back.
Yeah.
I'm assuming running
Yeah,
and
highly recommend, even as any sort of sports fan or like anybody that's interested in like strength sports, just go watch, go to all the booths. You get like bags and bags of stuff to take home and samples,
okay.
and you can see every type of sports, Highland Games, bodybuilding, and there's just kind of like notable people everywhere,
Nice.
throughout the festival. It's an experience that I recommend anybody do that's kind of into the sports and like lifting world.
Awesome, awesome. Now I got to ask this because you said that you helped start the New England Women of Strength. What exactly is this?
So New England Women of Strength is a community organization that me and another Gina,
Oh,
the Ginas, formed back in like 2012 to get more women interested in the sport of strongman. So back when we started, really, there was no, like, social media really wasn't what it is today. It was really a male-dominated sport. There wasn't a whole lot of women competing, and the getting information out about contests was like really challenging. It was message boards back then, and nobody really knew where to go, how to get involved, how to learn to train without like needing to like tap that big bearded scary guy in the gym and ask them, what am I doing? What are you doing? Not everybody has that
Yeah.
gusto. So we made the organization to share knowledge with women, try to get others invited, bring them into the sport, help teach them ourselves, other women teaching other women about this sport, making it welcoming, and then just encouraging people to stay, because we were seeing, early on, it's like you would see one person at this event locally, and then you wouldn't see them for like 3 events. And it's like, why can't we kind of keep this momentum going? So a lot of it was that, just getting women interested, trying to teach them about the sport, train them ourselves. We would have workshops that were just by women, that try to keep it a little bit more welcoming. And it really, that became a family in its own too. And just really wanted it to be knowledge sharing and just getting
No,
people interested.
that's awesome. Do you think they'll ever? Because and again, I don't know too much about it. But they say strongman. Is it ever going to be strong? Like, I know them called like strong woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually most contests are strongman, strong woman.
Okay.
Contests. As a feminist myself, I don't get super hung up about, like, that's the name of the sport. It was strongman.
Okay.
Like, I won't shun people that like don't want to call it strong woman. Like, I am a strong woman, but the sport itself is known as strongman. But it is all of the promoters are really great about being like equal in titling all their contests.
Okay. I'm sure there's a copyright on both of them.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, so.
There is. I think Rogue owns that.
Now and so now you took and I just want to make sure I have this right. Second place in the nation this year.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
This past June here in Manchester, New Hampshire itself. It was really exciting, honestly. It was really exciting to be able to have a nationals that was local, that a lot of friends and family could actually come and watch. I've unfortunately gone to Iowa 3 times to compete at nationals, so it's not always like the most convenient place, but this is definitely my highest placing in a national competition, something to be really proud of. Obviously, like, still what I really want first.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I'm really critical of myself, and there's things that I would have liked to do better, even within my own placing, that wouldn't have changed. But the woman that beat me, great athlete, deserved every second of it. So can't be mad when somebody, like, when you're outmatched, but definitely still gunning for a first place. I will say the gym that I train at too, Titan Barbell, something that keeps me going. The owner has put up 6-foot banners of everybody that goes to that gym that wins a national championship, and like, I still want a banner.
Yeah, yeah.
So the hunt continues, Dan.
Where was she from? Was she from the area too, or?
Yep. She's from a gym out in Lowell, Spindale Barbell, but lives up in Maine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is
around.
Is New England a hotbed for this?
There is a lot of great athletes in New England, so that's why I was really happy to see the nationals come to in New England. We have a lot of pros from here. Out in Massachusetts, Rob Kearney, he's a World's Strongest Man competitor. I've known him for like 12 years. There's several other pros like Eric Dawson, Matt Mills down in Connecticut, lots of pro women as well. So there's a big following. Typically contests around here will max out 60 competitors. They'll sell out just because there's like such a good following here in New England for this sport.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now I got to ask this: what would you tell someone that wants to get involved? Now, I'm talking man, woman, young person, older person. What would you tell someone that just came up to you and said, I want to get involved with this? What do I got to do?
Awesome. Try it. Come to the gym. Follow us around. Find a friend. Um, you know, anybody can learn strongman. It's physics. You can learn. You want to have a good base of strength. So, like, if you're starting from nothing, start normal. Overhead press, squat, deadlift. Build up those, basic movements. But go to a gym that has strongman. Either see if you can find a workshop. If you can't afford like a coach or personal trainer, like that's helpful. But even if you go to a gym that has strongman stuff or know people that do strongman, just ask to tag along. Like people are happy to, teach you. I'm always trying to and people are like, hey, I'm kind of interested. I'm like, please come. Like we want friends. We want to
Yeah.
everybody wants to share their passion for strongman. Like there's really been only a few people that I've come across in all of my years that aren't super excited to teach somebody else about the sport of strongman. So just tip your toes in the water. Ask people to help you. And that's the best way to do it. That's really how I got into it, was just asking somebody to show me and taking their, time, their kindness, and appreciating what they could share, and then doing, research yourself. But there's so many, especially now, there's so many different free or paid people out there that can help you. But find a friend in the gym or whoever they'll be happy to share. They'll be happy to share whatever knowledge or point you in a direction, or they know somebody that's in your area to help connect you. And my friend Dawn, that I mentioned, one of my longtime rivals, she got involved because she went to high school with somebody that did strongman and knew that I lived in the area where Dawn lived in, and she's like, here, you guys become friends. Can you help her?
Yeah.
And then I just had her tag along with me every time I went to the gym.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, do you see a wide range of ages?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I mean, goodness, actually, that woman that I referenced, her mother competed, and her over 65 years old, still competing. Wow. We have novice, we have teens. I will say, Dan, I have to say this, at nationals, the teen women were in my lane, going ahead of us. So impressive. 14-year-old women.
Oh, wow.
Pulling 320-pound deadlifts. So impressive. I was not doing anything at 14. I don't know about anybody else, but
I didn't do anything like that. I know that.
oh, heck no. Really impressive young athletes out there.
Yeah.
I'm kind of happy that I'll be turning the corner and be able to compete in Masters really soon. So we do have a Masters class, so anybody over 40 can compete. And then depending on if there's populations that can fill the classes, sometimes there's 50 plus Masters as well. But yeah, there's a really wide range, from teens all the way to people in their 60s competing. And it's, it's really exciting just to see the abilities that you can do this at any age.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. All right, well, you do have, I would say, more fan comments than questions,
Yeah.
but we want to recognize everybody that gave a shout out. No question, just full of admiration. Sherry Thorough.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, got it. So she's a big fan. This is awesome. Michelle Weeks. Man, some of these names are tough. And like I said before we went on air, this is the hardest thing that I have in the show. Favishish? I'm not sure how to say that. Badass woman, Kara Eisenberg. That was fairly easy one to say.
Yeah, I got it.
Are any of these people participants or?
So Kara she's
Okay.
a great athlete. Michelle's getting her feet wet. She'll be doing a contest soon. I know her from a previous life, several jobs ago. Just happened to stumble in each other's paths. Sherry, I know from bodybuilding days. But yeah, a lot of those people know me for a while and seen different versions of me, so to speak. Yeah.
I just love this picture, Roseanne Marie,
Yeah.
and the picture that we promoted the show with for anybody watching. Great choice. Gina's awesome. Jarrett Nevado, I want to say maybe. Love this. Gina's amazing. Mary
Cravedi, that's mom.
Cravedi.
I mean,
Okay.
she's obligatory.
She's got to say that. Well, she's right. And badass LB Smith.
Nice.
So, yeah, you had a lot of people giving you shout outs there.
Yeah.
So
I really appreciate all the support.
very awesome. I want to get into a very fun segment here. This is top fives. We really throw a couple things at you and just see what your top fives are.
All right.
Do you have a top five favorite movies?
That's hard. So you learn something about me. I'm a child at heart through this. Number one, Home Alone, the original, not number two. I will fight you on this.
Okay, I would probably agree that that is much better than 2.
The Sandlot, baseball guy, big
Huge,
fan.
and it's crazy seeing these guys now. Now they're all grown up.
Yeah.
Like it's bizarre.
I'm in denial. I
You
don't see it.
like what was his name? Parker or the Hambino? I have him on.
Oh, yeah.
What was his name in the movie? But anyways, I have him on Instagram. Yeah. And I swear to God, he looks just like he did when he was a kid.
Yeah. Some people don't change.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a classic. Back to the Future. You know.
Okay.
80s kid. Gotta love that.
Now, all combined, or are you more of a fan of the first one?
First one, special place in my heart. Do love number 2. The series is great, but those are 3, give it or take. I'll watch it, but
I highly recommend. So on Netflix, they have a special where they break down like I don't know, it's at the movies or something.
okay.
That cast got redone like a bunch of times.
Really? I didn't know this.
There was an actor that I can't remember who he is. He was redhead. He was supposed to be Marty McFly. Then the love interest of Marty McFly. Were you a fan of The Office?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, it was Jan.
No.
She was supposed to be in that movie.
Wow.
So I learned so much where I was like, wait, what?
What?
You know.
That's wild.
So, and then I was like, Jan? So she could have been like big time way before The Office.
Right.
But
Oh, goodness.
yeah, what are the rest there?
Also, haven't watched in a while, but D2 The Mighty Ducks.
Okay.
Like, I really am, like, going on 14 years old. And then probably, like, bring it into the 2000s. Dark Knight. Can't.
That's in, oof, is that in my top 5? Definitely in my top 10.
I mean, Heath Ledger, like, his performance in that, like, just blows anything away.
I have to say, in that movie, I don't know if you agree with this, when he's off screen, you're just waiting for him to come back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, his character was just so, enthralling's the right word, just like really mesmerizing by like what that character and how he brought that to life in a way that you don't always see, especially in movies like that. That just incredible.
Were you a fan of the other two in that series? Or?
They were good. They were good, but I don't think they can hold a candle to that performance.
I don't think anybody. Now I got to ask this now because this is now becoming like the heated topic here. There was a new Joker movie.
Haven't watched it. I'm a little scared. Like blood injury injection phobia. I heard it might not do well with that.
It is very different. It's
Yeah.
a very different version. It's very dark.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've ever seen Taxi Driver.
I have not.
Okay, that's what the movie reminded me of
Okay.
a little bit. I just want to say one other thing, and I don't know how you'll feel about this. I didn't see Mighty Ducks till like 2019.
Wow. Like the whole series?
I never seen any of them until 2019.
Should we check that your parents like? Did you have? Were you okay?
I don't know. We just weren't into hockey, I guess, and I just never saw it. So.
I was not in a hockey household. Also, like I'm the oldest of like 2 females. I had no brothers, so like my father was like a football guy. Still more of a football family, but saw that movie in the theaters, the second one, and then just fell in love with that whole series and the cast and like all the jokes that just still aren't old. To me, yeah.
I mean, Keenan's in it too.
Yeah.
Actually, that brings up another question I guess I want to ask, because you do with the strongman competitions. What sports did you play growing up?
Primarily soccer. I did have an injury when I was like 18 that kind of took that sport away from me. But I really did thrive more in individual sports. So I did do track and field for through high school. I kind of want to go back and do that again, just knowing like how strong, like back in high school too. I went to a Catholic high school. We really didn't get to like use the weight room. That was like off limits. So I didn't even pick up weights until my later 20s.
Oh, wow.
So I'd love to do that, but I came from a lineage, a line of sprinters.
Okay.
And my father was a record-breaking sprinter when he was in high school, and his father was a record-breaking sprinter. So, we kind of all had that same body type of like explosive power. So I did well in like the throwing events and sprinting events. That makes sense looking back. Strongman, there is no endurance. I mean, there's endurance, but it's a short period of time. You need to run 50 feet with this heavy thing, or you need to do something in 60 seconds. Doing something, I would not be a marathon runner by any means.
No, I mean, and I know you've done the Tough Rock as well. I think that's where it's like, that's as far as I'd go with a marathon.
What I really did, I mean, and I will say this, that doing the Tough Rock was one of like the proudest moments, like right up there with competing in the Arnold as like an athlete. Dan, you know that thing took me 9 hours to do because I can't run. But being able to do a marathon and carry a quarter of my body weight on my back, that's a different like level. That you just kind of added strongman to a marathon for me.
Yeah, Tough Rock it's unreal. Now if I remember, you walked with Tyler a lot of it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. What year was that one? Because I know I've done it a lot, so now it's like a blur. I don't remember what's.
I'd have to go back and look, but that was at least 5 years ago.
Okay.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, that was it's a great cause. It is definitely, it can be tough. Yeah. Since I torn my rotator cuff, I'm in the lightweight division now. I'm not carrying heavy bags anymore.
Oh yeah. Well, I think when I did, they didn't have the lightweight division, and I was recovering from torn rotator cuff surgery while I was training.
Yeah.
So like I was rocking in practice with like, a pillow here to try to keep, the weight off of my rotator cuff that I tore at nationals in 2017.
Okay.
Did
you do it during an event? Like, did you know?
Yeah.
Or
I knew instantly.
Okay.
Instantly. I was carrying. So if you know, like, if you've seen an oxen, there's a yoke that they kind of put across like a ox's back. We have a similar event called yoke walk. Typically, it goes across your back, and you carry like 400 pounds across your back, and you run with it. This event was a front carry. So you have this implement carried in the crux of your arms, pick it up 300 pounds, and then run with it until as fast as you can across the finish line for like 50 feet. And when I came to put that down, which is a significant amount of weight, it's kind of in your arms, I knew the minute I put it down that something had torn.
Oh yeah.
Right in the back. I knew it.
It's hard. Like when I tore mine, I was in denial because I was playing flag football. Now I always had a lot of pain.
Yeah.
But I'm an idiot and just was like, yeah,
it's fine.
I'll be fine. It's just, it hurts. It's just probably,
Yep.
I think they said an impingement at one point, but I never had an MRI.
Yep.
So I got taken out in flag football, and it dislocated my shoulder. So I had to pop back in.
Yep.
I went there and like, you'll just have to do rehab and all this other stuff. And I went to rehab, never got any better. And then they're like, you need an MRI. I go, well, why didn't we just do this in the first place?
Yep.
And
run around.
Yeah, that's how I learned. It was. They're like, ooh, and they couldn't even. They had to put cadaver tissue in there because I had done. You do so much damage. Did they have to do that with you too?
Very similar.
Yeah.
I actually had a cow tendon put in mine.
Oh wow.
Yep. So to regrow the tissue, but it went 2 years not being repaired because just kind of hopping around to doctors. That similar thing. Didn't do an MRI or did an MRI. They're like, it's a partial tear. It might heal itself. At 35, it's not going to heal itself. Nope. Sent me to PT, wasn't getting better. And then, like, further down the line, like, I still have kind of trickle-down effects. Even though it's repaired, like, the rest of, like, my arm is not the same.
Yeah.
Because we went so long before repairing it that everything had to kind of pick up the slack for that muscle that just couldn't hang in.
No, it's crazy. I still don't throw the way I do. And the people give me a hard time because we got a young kid on one of my softball teams, Jack. Shout out to Jack. He didn't have an MRI, and I'm like, Jack, I'm telling you, be careful, man. They'll tell you what you want to hear.
Yep.
And it was unfortunate, but anyways, I guess back on topic because we got to finish top five. But I didn't know you had the same surgery, so
yeah.
But top 5 TV shows.
Oh, that's hard. Goodness. I think we'll have to again go on the way back machine just for classics that don't get old. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air still cracks me up. Saved by the Bell, always, some lesson in there. Those don't get old. More current, because we just only got we did the cord cutting. I couldn't tell you what's on normal TV now. Nailed it on Netflix. I could watch that all day long. The host, Nicole Byer, kills me. And just watching people that think they can bake, really can't bake, makes me feel a lot better about myself in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Highly recommend. although I wouldn't like probably go back and watch them all, I feel like I'd be remiss as like somebody that grew up, went to high school in the 90s to not say Friends, just
Okay.
because that lived for so long. I'm not like, I bounce around to all the different like series and stuff now. I don't know. This past like year was really into Yellowstone. Thought that was really,
This
really
keeps
well done,
coming
and I
up.
didn't think
Yes.
that that was gonna interest me. Not until like the old westerns and stuff, but like the drama in that like really, really kept me hooked.
Kevin Costner, you can't really go wrong.
No, I mean he was great. That whole
Yeah.
cast was great, and like Beth, like that's a crazy character that like I really hated in the beginning, but like the end, I'm like I get it. I kind of like you now. So looking forward to that one coming back a lot.
I got to check that out because keeps coming up on the show. Top five strongman performers. You could say local, what you think ever, whatever you want to do on that one.
I've had the pleasure of seeing like a lot of really great performances. We'll say Martins Lisi's. He is an entertainer, an awesome guy. I got to see him, got to go down to watch World's Strongest Man right before COVID, so 2019. They happen to have World's Strongest Man in the same town as where my high school best friend now lives.
Okay.
So I got to see her and got to go watch them. And so I watched Martins win World's Strongest Man that year, and that was like really great. I really do love watching another pro. He's retired now, but Shivlikov, he was a Marine or he was a soldier from Russia, always had his like beret on to give credit to like his other life, but he was really just always a really appreciative person. Like he didn't always like win, but you could see he was just always like thankful. He was great to watch. He put on a great show for people. Locally, even at the level, like one of my great friends, Christine Galvin, she's been having a great year. She just won nationals this past year. She's over in Norway right now competing, came in second
Oh,
in an
wow.
open class. She's a fantastic person to watch. So much fire and dedication in that woman. They're one of the like the OGs for female strongwomen, Kristen Rhodes. She's incredible to watch somebody that's like in her 40s, still runs circles around people, mom, like she's balances all the same, struggles that all of us have. She's incredible, wonderful person to meet. And then another strong woman that I've had the pleasure of meeting and knowing, Lefa Ingalls. She's in the Guinness Book of World Records for being able to press
Oh, wow.
as many men overhead, human men, in a certain time period. It's amazing to watch, but she's a really funny person. She's had so many world records for middleweight women, and she's just like the most gracious, thankful person. Like just awesome person to know, to meet, and to watch. Just brings so much fire, and just like pound for pound, one of the strongest people probably that's ever lived.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait, were the men stacked?
Yeah, so like
wow.
she literally, like you can YouTube this, Google it, men laying down with like their arms crossed, and she like scooped them up, pressed them, and like threw them down on like a mat.
Oh, wow.
It's wild. Things that you wouldn't expect to be like a Guinness Book World Record.
I know. I got to go through that book sometime because there's crazy
There's
stuff in there.
weird stuff in there.
All right, I want to get to my favorite segment, which is blank versus blank. I'm going to give you two
Ooh.
things. You got to pick one and tell me
All
why.
right.
Would you rather listen to rock or rap?
Oh, rock, absolutely. I don't understand a lot of rap these days. Back
It's
in like the
not-
90s, it's not the same.
Yeah.
So I'll default to rock because I usually like understand what they're saying and like the message behind it.
Yeah, rap's not like what it used to be.
No, but I'll take it back. If we could go back to 90s rap, different story.
No, yeah, I'm the same way. I shared a meme that it said, "Am I out of touch?" Because we're getting older now.
Yes.
And then it's like Principal Skinner from The Simpsons, and he goes, "Nope, it's the kids that are wrong."
Yeah.
All right, I ask everybody this. This is a difficult question here. More responsible for the success of the New England Patriots over a 20-year span, Tom Brady or Bill Belichick?
Tom Brady.
Seems to be the answer now a
Yeah.
lot.
I mean, like, Bill built the team, but he wasn't out on the field throwing the passes, making the connections to get it to the end zone. Like, you can't replace that talent. Tom Brady will always be the GOAT.
100% agree. He is definitely the GOAT. As I'm a wrestling fan, I got to ask this. We have two guys that went on to Hollywood. One's become just a huge star, but just two of them. Hulk Hogan or The Rock?
I have to say The Rock. Like part of me, like that's a really hard question, but I really like Rock's or Dwayne Johnson's like other side of his comedies and stuff, and also like the Titan games. Like there were several strong men and women that competed in that, so like
Okay.
kind of having him also kind of support and bring my weird sport to the main stage was like I gotta appreciate that from him.
I'm a big Rock fan. I mean, I grew up as a little Hulkamaniac,
Yep.
but as we say on the show a lot, we love Hulk Hogan. Terry Bollea is kind of a piece of shit
Yeah.
in real life.
Did see Hulk Hogan at the Arnold Sports Festival.
Oh, he was there.
Yep, he was there.
I think he's friends with Schwarzenegger.
Really
It's just hard. Like, well, I'll always be a Hulk Hogan fan of the character, but all the stuff that's come out about him through all these years, you're like, man, he's not a good dude.
I didn't grow up like in the heyday of like WrestleMania, watching wrestling, but more recently started watching all the documentaries from like all of those guys,
Oh, and
and that's been like so eye-opening, really interesting stories to see about everything. I'm like, I really missed out
Yeah.
not watching all of that.
Yeah, they've had a lot of good stuff on there. Those biographies are great.
Yeah, The Undertaker's like documentary series was really, really great.
He probably had the greatest. And I've been to the WWE Hall of Fame and everything. He probably had the greatest Hall of Fame speech, not just for wrestling, just one of the greatest Hall of Fame speeches I've seen in anything.
Really?
He came out with like a headset, and they gave him like almost an hour to let him go
Wow.
through everything. Yeah.
That's incredible.
So
That's a career. I don't know how anybody like Strongman will put you through the ringer, but what those guys do and how long he did that for is incredible.
yeah, it's crazy the amount of surgeries he had, and just the evolution of his character. And as you watched him, and I'm a big wrestling fan, so I just know this. Like, you watch him get so much better as a performer as the time just went on. Just amazing stuff. Would you rather listen to Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey?
Oh, that's tough. I'll go with Whitney
Okay.
on that. Just timeless. Like some of Mariah's like newer stuff I'm not into.
I was more Mariah in '95,
Yep, okay.
but she is like my celebrity crush for life. But it's hard to go against Whitney.
Yep. I can respect it. That's a tough one.
Yeah, yeah. They were two icons of their era. I gotta ask this: would you rather have coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee. Absolutely. Like I wanna like tea, but it's not for me. Like and like putting the milk in tea seems also weird to me.
Yeah, I won't do it.
No, can't do it. I'll try anything once, but I'm like, that's just not for me. Every once in a while, I'll have a tea if I'm trying not to be like too caffeinated, but coffee, absolutely. Or pre-workout, because I work out at really, really early hours of the
Yeah,
morning. It
so
needs to be a little extra something.
How does that work? So you have pre-workout, and then when you get to work, do you have a coffee?
Not usually.
Okay.
On days I'm not lifting, I'll have a coffee.
Okay. I guess I've never. I only had pre-workout one time. I don't know if you remember Matt Day, but we worked
Yep.
out after work when we worked our 9 shift. He's like, "Yeah, just try this stuff." I go, "I don't know." I was wired.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we had a great workout, but then I had to go home, and usually I could just crash. And I was like,
Nope, you're wide awake.
you know,
That's one of the good things about having it early in the morning. Get you through the work day.
I don't know what I was thinking, or I love you, Matt. I don't know why I listened to you on this
Pure
one.
pressure. You're like, you know better.
So I've gone back and forth. I'm more of a tea guy now,
Okay.
but I still like coffee. But now it's weird. If I have a coffee, I do feel a little more jacked up.
All right.
And I don't know if there must be more caffeine in coffee.
Oh, definitely is, but like I'm definitely immune to like caffeine at this point. I think having so much like pre-workout over these years that like coffee doesn't do too much for me anymore. So
Fair enough.
I don't recommend that path for anybody else. Try to stay away from like the pre-workout and lots of caffeine as long as possible.
All right, toughest question in blank versus blank, and you got to choose one and one goes away.
It's Instinct versus like Backstreet Boys. I know my answer.
I'm going in sync on that one.
Absolutely.
That's
We're
a
now
no-brainer.
best friends.
I actually had no strings attached, but
Yes.
two things that you're very passionate about. but would you rather keep traveling or keep doing competitions?
Honestly, like, I mean, that's a really hard question, but I would have to keep traveling because, like, I'm almost 40. I've been doing this for 12 years. The fact I've been able to hang on so long, and like, it's not going to, as much as I love the sport, it's not going to continue to bring the new rewards and the new experiences that traveling and seeing a new place will continue to bring. It'll always bring excitement and always get me, I'll always have a love for that and want to keep going back to that. But traveling and seeing new places are going to be further rewarding and something that I'll be able to do, through the rest of my years where, an injury, this is real wood, right?
Yes.
Something could
I
set me
think
back.
Colin, right? Yeah.
Take Strongman away from me to be competing, and like, I like to keep that option open always. But, I've done a lot. I'm not ready to retire yet, but I would, given that decision, I would have to.
You got to get that banner.
Yep, I have to get that banner
Before you retire. So.
Yep.
Well, Gina, I really appreciate coming on the show. This has been a
Thanks,
blast. We'll have to
Appreciate
have
it.
you back sometime.
Love it.
But everybody out there, I just want to address Nick real quick because I do understand he tried to get in here today. Nick, you have an open invitation to even come on the show, and we can discuss what is the issue going on, what's with the Karate Kid stuff. We just want to figure it out. But anyways, everybody out there, keep your heads up. Have a wonderful week, and until next time, let freedom ring.